A lot of times I'm checking details maybe 3 to 5 times. If nobody has come, nobody has gone out. But
Okay, because I have a job. That's why I said what I said.
I think this reminds me of what I was curious.
For something so central to partnership, conflict is still one of the least openly explored parts of it. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Ochoa, your neighborhood expert on all things conflict management, dispute resolution, and healthy dialogue. Today, I'm joined by 4 special guests who are perfectly suited to discuss conflict in this context. This is LTAI Table. Let's meet our guests. Start to my right.
Hi, my name is Gideon Vese, and
My name is Ada. Basic.
great. We've been married for 4 months now. 4 months now, very interesting. Yeah,
For exciting months, I hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
To my left.
hi, my name is Tulane.
And I'm Matinken Adelti.
Mine for 5 years.
So we have like a good range.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
very
we can
good.
all learn from each other today. So today we're going to be talking about conflict in the context of marriage. What it looks like, what we think about it, what we think it means, and what's often misunderstood about it. Right. So to start with, I want to talk about like our understanding of conflict before we got into the context of marriage. Right. So are there any like expectations you had about marriage or things that you thought like predictions like, okay, I think we'll start writing around maybe like year 1 or this is the thing that me and this man or me and this woman will probably argue about when we get married. Are there any, do you have any like expectations or predictions in that context? Cool, let's go first.
Unalao, 5 years.
Okay, I think that you know how when you're getting married, okay, the first year is the roughest. If people will fight because you're trying to readjust and all of that. So I would not say that I really expected it, but it was just there at the back of my mind that okay, it was going to happen. So at the end of the day, probably fought like major fights, probably like twice in that
first
1
year.
year.
So it wasn't as
It
bad
wasn't
as
like
it is.
bad as we could because I was expecting us to be fighting every day and setting out. So it's basically set that
Yeah,
first year in the year, you know. Yeah.
I'm not even sure I can recall twice. That's
Maybe twice.
yeah.
really similar towards me. So it looked like is this what they were
All the drama was about. Yes. Okay, so for you guys, did you have, even if you didn't have like any expectations, did you have anything in your mind that like predictions like, I think this is an area that we could possibly like clash on?
Funny enough, no, actually, but it's I think it's largely based on how we were groomed before we got married. You know, so for example, like we are in a church where the lead pastor is like an expert relationship. Pastor thinks about so literally hearing about relationship every day. So we kind of knew, and then our friendship was very long. Yeah, we're friends since 2019 officially, and then we got married 2025. Right? Of question about the date. Yeah, so you can imagine.
Yeah.
So I think we already kind of knew a couple of
Seven
things, and then 4 months now.
That pretty well,
We
yeah.
not had a fight, but we had disagreements, but everything's peaceful and all. So, yeah. I don't have it in my mind that there'll be ever.
Yeah. So I think one thing that I always like to tell people as well is that like sometimes when we discuss conflict, people have this mindset already that conflict is like warfare. Right. But I tell people that we're all experts in conflict because we have been in conflict since we were children. Because conflict even exists within yourself. So even in your mind, in your heart, sometimes you're like, I'm going to do this, but maybe I should do that. That in itself is conflict. So sometimes people think, okay, we don't really have conflict, or they're afraid of conflict because it's like, I'm not trying to do any serious practice. So that's just something that I like to put out there as well. All right. So I think that I wanted to start the conversation around expectations because we find that in conflict, a lot of tension, a lot of disagreements, they don't kind of come out of nowhere. A lot of the time, they're linked to expectations. They're linked to like things that preconceived notions, things that you project onto your partner, project onto a situation even before it happens. So sometimes, that expectation in itself is really the underlying factor that has caused that conflict, not necessarily the relationship, the dynamic, or that situation. So do you guys feel anything? I know you already spoke a little bit about expectations to look at, but did you guys have any more like concrete examples or experiences where you feel like it was the expectation itself that kind of cause tension, even if it didn't expand into a full blown situation, but causes a bit of tension. Not really the situation itself. It was just kind of like an idea you had in your mind, something that somebody had kind of planted in your mind, or even in your case, like you were talking about grooming, maybe even things that you were taught that you were already like, okay, this is if this ever happens, this is how I'll handle it. So does that affect like your management style, how you manage a conflict, how you prevent it from happening, and things like that?
I would always defer to them because the part was noisy.
Of course.
Okay. There's an example I want to share. Yeah, which is in mind. Maybe I'm not sure it was up to 8 months into our marriage. So we didn't have anybody doing the house cause at the time. So I just woke up, I washed the plates, and I thought I was done with everything. And then I saw that she was a bit moody. Then I started asking her, okay, what's wrong? And I said, before we got married, he said that you love to do a lot around the house, but it's almost as if once you wash plates, you're done for the day.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not exactly how I was saying it at the time. So that made me adjust a lot of things. And I'm like, okay. She was actually watching, okay, he did this.
Right. So that's
then
cutting period. She was point noting some things. He's a very typey. So she came with that expectation.
For me, I was just all free and doing things at my pace. I think that's if I didn't manage that properly,
Yes.
I probably would have thought I'm doing my best. Exactly. I'm doing my best, yeah. So why should but I just because I just kind of backtracked at the conversation what she was expecting, so I just slowed it down. Yes, okay, sorry, I didn't mean it this way. This is not okay. And I think that for those kind of little disagreements, little things, just as soon as we're able to outsource all of that clean, that just takes away the stress from everybody.
That's so true. I like to talk about sustainable solutions. So I remember I made a video about that once and telling people how like you have to be intentional about creating sustainable solutions. So you can't be planning for things that didn't exist yet. But there's certain solutions that can prevent conflicts in one aspect forever. Honestly, like something like this. Once you get somebody who's doing that, but you're able to sort out, it's not even something that needs to come up again. Yeah. Right. All right. Yes.
You share on one story. I just don't have a research here, you know. So I was working on a project because I have a branding agency, and then in the project we're meant to create a documentary for a war.
Okay.
Right. So my wife saw the video. It's not I didn't edit it. I edit too. My wife saw this. It was one of my staff that did, and she was like, "Oh my god, this is so good!" And then when we met the person, the owner of the content, she then said, "Wow, what do you think?" She asked the person, "What do you think about your face?" And she was like, "Yeah, she feels like she didn't do her makeup well, you know, the lady stuff." And then she was like, "Oh yeah, I thought about that first." So in my mind, well, afterwards, I just want to be, when you saw the video, you
This one at home.
and then she was like, "Oh, that she did," but I didn't hear it. You know, so it was just like in that moment because I was feeling like, oh my god, you told me what was good, but then now you're bringing this up before, so it felt somehow. But when she told me that she actually mentioned it, I didn't take it too deep. You know, so I was just like, okay, it's fine, no problem, it's well. But I feel like now she knows that for adventure, there's something around work or project that is not clear, or maybe I didn't do well or they didn't do well. She make it very clear to me so I'll know, because I mean my project as a man is tied to my ego and emotions and how I feel, you know. So I want to hear that I did a good job completely from her and a bad job from her before outside, you know. So yeah, what do you have any words here?
I feel like for me, it's the context is a bit different. So when it comes to expectations, he wait, there was a point I was going to make. Wait, there was a point I was making. Sorry, it has skipped my mind. But when it comes to wait, my what's this note? I forgot about.
Was it about the same story?
No, it wasn't. It was about Excuse me, man. I was listening to your story to give you
Okay, well, hopefully it comes
Hopefully
back.
it comes back. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like when you both were talking, it came to mind like in conflict and in partnerships, there's an element of trust, I think, that is more prevalent in this specific context than many other contexts where you find conflict, right? So because you guys are already partners, there has to be that level of trust. Like in your story, you were saying that there's kind of an expectation. Like I trust you to tell me the good and the bad. And here again, like I trust you to kind of support me in that sense as well. So do you think that, or how do you think that trust itself comes up and makes conflict in marriage different from conflict that you've experienced outside?
So I'm trying to see, however. Okay, I'll say that you know that. So a friendship and a marriage, they are similar, but they are not the same.
Yes.
There's a situation where if my friend does something, I can just choose to walk away, but I can't do that in marriage. So there's that. Before we get married, before I agree to marry you, I trust that you have my best interest at that, and you also trust that I have your best interest at that.
Yeah.
And as such, when it does seem like you break that trust, it is close. When I say close to home, it is more painful
Right.
than somebody out there.
Somebody else.
Somebody out there. It depends on my relationship with the person, though. But like you get it. So I think that most of the time when there's a misunderstanding, a disagreement, is more because it feels like, well, you just broke my trust. This has a particular issue. And it could have been better. It could have done something different than you did now. So I don't know if I answered the question best.
You do.
Well, like for me, I feel like trust kind of comes right now from the angle of, in fact, recently I was going through my Instagram and I saw a video of a man, pastor, and he said he woke up 6 a.m., was ministering that day, Sunday, woke up 6 a.m., drove to the car park and was praying and preparing, reading his notes, and then God told him, how come you don't do this? Or I wish you did this before you enter your house after work every day. So he was trying to tell him that same effort and preparation, you go into the house with joy, and you go to church with joy and readiness. Do that same thing for your household. So for me, I feel like trust here is in a relationship and in our marriage is being more patient with her, rather than so for typically when you're being patient with people outside, it's like, oh wow, he's nice, and then you would find out that some of those people, they are impatient and they are wicked and tough with their wife. But I feel like in this place, because of our union, right, she can bank on me that I always have her best interest, just like she said, at heart. Right. So whenever I'm making any decision, even if I do something to annoy her, the first way things should come to her head is not Gideon did this thing so that she's actually because if he did this thing, it's not because he wanted to hurt me. Something is wrong. So it changes her approach. So when we ever get into a conversation, it's not like she's, oh, you did this. No, it's rather than, oh, what happened, and I see that play out many times.
So sorry, I wanted to say something as regards to what he said now about trusting that your partner did something, not because they want to do it intentionally. So last year I was around August, I was out of job for a couple of months, and at the time I was out of the job, I was also preparing for an exam. So it was almost like, okay, good, let me just prepare for my exam. Wow. And then I did the exam. And then I decided that I told my husband, oh, after my exams, I'll start applying for jobs. But then the exam really drained me. So I decided that, you know what? In fact, I want to take December and just be watching movies and series and all of that. And it was okay with it. But then there was one morning when he was going to work. I go with them downstairs, he and my son. And when he was in, he was like, what are you doing today? To watch movies, Abby? So when he said that, I just smiled, but it made me feel so now. In my heart of heart, I know that the man I married did not say that to spite me. He probably was just asking, okay, this is what you're going to do with your day. But it made me feel some type of way in that moment. And then when I got upstairs, I was just like, okay, because I have a job. That's why I said what I said. But then, deep within me, I knew that he didn't say that to make me feel bad or to say, oh, I'm the one paying the bills or any of those kind of thing. And when he came back in the evening, I just said, okay, what you said in the morning, I know you were not saying, but it did make me feel some type of way. And because I know and I trust you, I know what you can do and what you can do. That's why I'm saying it so that you know that it actually made me feel so credible. And he immediately apologized. So that was not his intention. He explained and that was it. So yeah,
I think that's a very important thing because many things that were little can literally just escalate if you do not trust, right? And I think it's an intentional decision, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have just chosen that. Oh no,
To be on the other
but
side of that.
you decided to choose that. He didn't mean that. So I think.
I think this reminds me of what I
Wanted to say.
So because for us, you were speaking about expectations. The expectation in this, that's why I said my context was a bit different. So typically for me, I came in thinking for this marriage, I want to give my best and pour all I can to him and all. But coming into marriage, I was doing that and I found that many times you'll say, why are you stressing yourself? I'm thinking, do you not appreciate the extra effort or but I find that many times he'd rather I'm relaxed, not stressed, chilling, or being with him than doing one magic in the kitchen that nobody asked him to. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm trying to see how I can give him the very best or do something extra or, so I was like, my expectation was you would appreciate this extra effort, but he wants me relaxed. And that it also connects, it's like, you would think so you have to look at where the person is coming from. I could easily think he doesn't appreciate my efforts. He doesn't see all the sacrifices I'm making. But if I really look at this man and say, okay, I know him, it is because he wants me to feel good and relaxed and rested. That is why. So knowing the person, when it comes to trust, like you mentioned, I feel like in marriage, you should typically get to a point where you strip yourself of all guards and you trust the person to the extent that you are just ready to fall in. That is actually what it is meant to be. But a lot of people still have like a picket fence just in case. But typically there should be nothing and that trust should be free because this person is the person you're giving your life to. So it's just navigating.
I love that. I heard Apostle always say that marriage should be a state of either, naked and unashamed. So you should be completely yourself. I love that. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared so far. I wanted to ask a little bit more about things you've shared so far. So I was hearing a theme of just like some internal like issues or some internal like opinions or perspective or worries or concerns that you may have and how that can kind of combat with your reality. So when you're dealing with your own thoughts, like I feel like I'm doing my best. I feel like I want to show up in this kind of way. Or you also dealing with maybe you were even already feeling like, it's been how many months now? I'm just so you already have that little seed and then someone says one thing and then it meets that seed that is just turning into another thing. So how do you combat those situations when you have those like internal personal things that are kind of like a you issue and then your partner is then interfacing with that thing, but you know that they are not coming from a bad place. So how do you balance that where you have your own, I don't want to go as far as saying insecurities, but just like little things. We all have those little things that are in the back of our mind, like we're still working on or we're still trying to like overcome. How do you balance that when you're in context of a marriage with someone that's talking to you really, dealing with you really, blah, blah, blah?
Oh, that was deep.
Don't worry, it's like, I'm looking this way.
So I'll start from the first example I gave. So sometimes I kind of feel like I work a lot. Not that I kind of feel like I actually work a lot. And I'm always trying to be, maybe I'm a perfectionist to an extent. Again, always want everything to be in order, to just everything to just go around, thinking 1,000 steps ahead of stuff, things that can go wrong, most especially in some cases. So a lot of times I'm checking details maybe 3 to 5 times. Nobody has come, nobody has gone out, but I'm checking details and I do not see it as bad. I'm checking as I am now. I'm thinking, okay, is my son was it doing? Has he falling off the chair that really has? Do you get that?
Yes.
So a lot of times I just try to calm myself down with it and say, because I see that it just takes her a little bit aback and she's like, okay, why are you?
I had to ask him that. Please, somebody write a letter to you that can customer robots. because
It can really be that intense for me, and it's just me dealing with a lot of things in my mind. So I just try to calm myself. I say nothing is going to go wrong. Everything, and then I can have that conversation. But if we have any kind of conversation, argument, disagreement within that space, I just discovered I just set the tone in the wrong direction. So I've just learned to try and just calm myself. Say, everything is great. Everything is going good. Just relax. And it's sometimes it's still difficult, to be honest. But I just try to let me just live in the moment.
Yeah. So you have to kind of figure out how to regulate yourself first before you can now have a conversation with people.
Makes sense. Full of wisdom.
It's a safe space.
No, it's a shy. I'm trying to think about the scenario. I think one thing that comes to mind, trying to figure out the right scenario. There are many scenarios because I personally have been through a lot. In fact, we both have had loss. Right? Yeah. She lost her dad when she was a kid. I also lost my biological father when I was a kid. I have a stepfather now. And many times those things will come. It will come on maybe through conversations. I know that I can remember when she lost one of her dear aunties, right? Very dear, right? And I think in that period it didn't come to mind that there's a way people grieve, right? So I was trying to be there, now. I was trying to be there. I wanted to give her gifts and hopefully she'll be happy, but it wasn't working. And at that point I was very sad. So it then looked like she then needed to come out of her sadness so that I won't be sad, and that happened many years ago. So I've forgotten what brought about the conversation recently, maybe like 2 months ago or something. And I now like really went, because then we spoke about it, but it was like surface level. So then when we really went into that, I was like, so how do people like experience? I think we're outside by the waterside. How do people express grief? Like, don't you feel like because your loved one is around you, it's enough to bring you out,
encourage you?
Yes, because one of the things that I probably struggled with when I was younger, because losing my dad, then my mom had to work the whole time. So she would need to, in fact, my sister reminded me yesterday, because I remember my sister when we were driving home, she said, my mom will work all day and come back like 12 a.m., 1 a.m. So, and I was the last born, I'm still the last born. So I did not used to see her like that then, so obviously there'll be a void or there'll be a need that the child will have, so even though it has been dealt with, but I feel like sometimes healing takes a while. In fact, sometimes it may take a lifetime, right? That's complete healing. But you may get to a level where you're able to move on. But there will be times where, people will bring to remembrance what you went through and it's how you deal with it. So I was just trying to navigate that because then, that's many years ago when this happened, when she lost her aunt, it felt like she was, staying away from me so she could get better. So I feel like also like do you need distance to like it also navigating that was tough because it was, if I would say, an insecurity tool for her to pull away. Yes, then it was alien to me. Like, why is she pulling away? Is it not meant to come close? Let's all greet together, But then we spoke about it now and everything.
Let's just to add to that, I feel like it's one thing that's really important for everyone to just take note of is, and I was speaking about this recently, is some traumas you've been through that are you're still dealing with, and that's not entirely a bad thing, but just to be aware of those things, because then in a situation like this, I have the tendency to feel this way, and you then check yourself to know it's a you thing that you're healing through, and not something to project onto the next person. So I think just the awareness of what life has been for you, and also the awareness that it's been different for the other person. And so in certain situations, they might not do what you expect, or what you do might be received differently from what you're expecting. So just that awareness, I think, helps in situations like that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so sorry for both of your losses. So thank you. We appreciate you so much for sharing those insightful opinions with both sides of the table. Okay, so my last question for this aspect of conversation is there anything that conflict in context of marriage specifically has taught you about yourself? So things that you've learned when you start having conflict with your partner or experiencing disagreements that you're like, okay, it's like I have this there's this thing about me, whether it's good or bad, could be a good thing that I'm actually really patient, more patient than I was. So you're like, me, please, Sha. My body is to touch.
Why? Okay, I'll say that at the initial stage of our marriage, I conflict made me realize that I am a reactive person. So whenever there's a disagreement, I used to listen to respond. I never listened to understand where is coming from. So I'm here. I'm waiting to finish speaking. So I can fire, so I can tell you. So I mean, I feel like that because of that, solving that situation or moving past that thing became harder. But over time, I started understanding it better. And then just because I realized that this is a marriage, I'm here for like forever. And because of that, I need to figure out a way where when there's a conflict, I'm not there so that we can fight for 3 days and not speak to one another or whatever. So I start, okay, help me understand. And then when you say yes, if there's a need for me to actually respond, I respond and I want you to also understand me. So I feel like at first I was reactive, but now I've gotten to a place where conflict has helped me to be more patient. Now I'm making excuses before we even start the conversation. Like, oh, you definitely didn't do that because, so I feel like over time I got better. But initially, I was fire for fire.
The funny thing is I won't even speak on time. That's
Yeah, and it was really upsetting because sometimes, okay, you've done something to me that upset me, and I want to talk about it, and then I've said everything, I've dropped it, and then it's about to say,
processing.
I'm processing the conversation. I'll get back. It get back to me where it was annoying at first, but over time I understood this kind of person. He likes to sort of process the situation, pick the words that he wants to he chooses to use for you rather than just speaking the heat of the moment and then he says something that now upsets you even more. So
Yeah, so I think it's, for me, how that has changed me personally is that I think I've learned to, sometimes when someone offends me, I just kind of bottle it out and then I just allow it go and then just make a decision to move past it. But I think in marriage it's important to speak. Yeah. The reason why is because those kind of scenarios will always come and repeat themselves over and over and over. And so if you don't address it once it comes up the first time, comes up the second time, just keep on exactly. So just say it. So, and because of the way I had been trained, I had been brought up, I will not want to speak immediately. I will just try and process it and say, okay, if I say this to this guy, don't really feel bad. I really feel about it. And then I did not know that in the process, I'm actually wasting someone's time. I'm not expressing myself quickly and the likes. And so what I just learned is try to process it, but process on time and then speak your mind. Make the person realize the reason why you're saying something because you're trying to hurt them and then just say it and then what I found out from that is that I sometimes even have a totally different perspective from what person is coming. And I should just say it, whichever way it comes, yes.
Interesting. Almost the same, but I think if we have something to talk about, I'm usually silent. Like side sexist best. I'm usually very quiet, and then she'll need me to talk. But I think one thing I appreciate her for is in those times when I'm silent, she's there.
Yeah.
So she's like, so after a while, just like we'll talk about it and everything.
Yeah.
So me, I think one thing I notice about conflict is I'm usually silent first. Yeah.
One thing we came to understand and agree on is in a moment, if someone comes to say, oh, I didn't appreciate this that happened, hear that person out and then make it valid and don't defend. And that's also no way to start bringing, but you also say it to this. Just hear them out and let it be their moment and then get through it.
I love that. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing so many insightful points today. And you guys have heard us. We've told you everything that we know about conflict in marriage. And we've also shared what conflict management should look like in marriage beyond just saying, I'm sorry. So try it out and let us know what you think. Bye.